Shakti Seer 2.
We will now begin to recite the larger Pure Land Sutra. The Buddha said to Ananda, "In the distant past, innumerable, incalculable, and inconceivable kalpas ago." Inconceivable kalpas ago, this means a long, long time ago. A Tathagata means a thus come one, something like an avatar. A Tathagata named Dipankara appeared in the world. Having taught and freed innumerable beings and led them along the way of enlightenment, he passed into nirvana. Next appeared a Tathagata named Far-Reaching Illumination. After him came Moonlight, and then Sandalwood Incense, King of Beautiful Mountains, Crown of Mount Sumeru, Brilliant like Mount Sumeru, Color of the Moon, Right Recollection, Free of Defilement, Non-Attachment, Dragon Deva, Nocturnal Light, Peaceful and Brilliant Peak, Immovable Ground, Exquisite Beryl Flower, Golden Beryl Luster, Gold Treasury, Flaming Light, Fiery Origin, Earth-Shaking, Image of the Moon, Sound of the Sun, Flower of Freedom, Glorious Light, Miraculous Power of the Ocean of Enlightenment, Water Light, Great Fragrance, Free of Dust and Defilement, Abandoning Enmity, Flame of Jewels, Beautiful Peak, Heroic Stance, Merit-Possessing Wisdom, Outshining the Sun and Moon, Beryl Light of the Sun and Moon, Supreme Beryl Light, Highest Peak, Flower of Enlightenment, Brightness of the Moon, Sunlight, King of the Colors of Flowers, Moonlight on the Water, Dispelling the Darkness of Ignorance. By the way, these are all names of Tathagatas who came after the first Tathagata that the Buddha mentions, called Dipanakara. So Tathagata, and these are all, Sanskrit names which have these meanings in them. Practice of removing hindrances, Moonlight on the Water, Dispelling the Darkness of Ignorance, Pure Faith, Storehouse of Good Majestic Glory, Wisdom of the Dharma, Voice of the Phoenix, Roar of the Lion, Cry of the Dragon, and Dwelling in the World. All these Buddhas have already passed into Nirvana. Then there appeared a Buddha named Lokeshvara Raja. By the way, Lokeshvara Raja means World Sovereign King. It means King of the Lord of the Worlds, or Lokeshvara Raja. Yeah, it means King, World Sovereign, or King, Lord of the Worlds. The Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened one, possessed of wisdom and practice, well gone one, knower of the world, unsurpassed one, tamer of beings, teacher of gods and humans, and enlightened and world-honored one. At that time there was a king, who, having heard the Buddha's exposition of the Dharma, rejoiced in his heart and awakened aspiration for highest, perfect enlightenment. He renounced his kingdom and throne, and he became a monk named Dharmakara. Having superior intelligence, courage, and wisdom, he distinguished himself in the world. He went to see the Tathagata Lokeshvara Raja, knelt down at his feet, walked around him 3 times, keeping him always at his right, prostrated himself on the ground, and, putting his palms together in worship, praised the Buddha with these verses. The shining face of the Buddha is glorious. Boundless is his magnificence. Radiant splendor such as his is beyond all comparison. The sun, the moon, and the Mani gem, though shining with dazzling brightness, are completely dimmed and obscured as if they were a pile of ink sticks. The countenance of the Tathagata is beyond compare in the whole world. The great voice of the enlightened one resounds throughout the 10 directions. His morality, learning, endeavor, absorption in meditation, wisdom, and magnificent virtues have no equal. They are wonderful and unsurpassed. quiet. Sorry about that. His morality, learning, endeavor, absorption in wisdom, in meditation, absorption in meditation, his wisdom, magnificent virtues have no equal, they are wonderful and unsurpassed. He meditates deeply and directly on the oceanic dharma of all the Buddhas. He knows its depth and breadth, and he penetrates to its farthest end. Ignorance, greed, and anger are forever absent in the world-honored one. He is the lion, the most valiant of all men. His glorious virtue is unlimited. His meritorious achievements are vast. His wisdom is deep and sublime. His light, with awe-inspiring glory, shakes the universe of 1,000 million worlds. I resolve to become a Buddha, equal in attainment to you, O Holy King of the Dharma, to save the living beings from birth and death, and to lead them all to liberation. My discipline in giving, mind control, moral virtues, patience, and effort, and also in meditation and wisdom will be supreme and unsurpassed. I vow that when I have become a Buddha, I shall carry out this promise everywhere, and to all fear-ridden beings shall I give great peace. Even though there are Buddhas 1,000 million kotis in number, and multitude of great sages countless as the sands of the Ganges River, a multitude of great sages countless as the sands of the Ganges River, I shall make offerings to all those Buddhas. I shall seek the supreme way, resolutely and tirelessly, even though the Buddha lands are incalculable as the sands in the Ganges River, and other regions and worlds are also without number. My light shall reach everywhere, pervading all those lands. Such being the result of my efforts, my glorious power will be immeasurable. When I have become a Buddha, my land shall be most exquisite, and its people wonderful and unexcelled. The seat of enlightenment will be supreme. My land, being like nirvana itself, will be beyond comparison. I take pity on living beings and resolve to save them all. Those who come from the 10 directions will find joy and serenity of heart when they reach my land. They shall dwell in peace and happiness. I beg you, the Buddha, to become my witness and to vouch for the truth of my aspiration. Having now made my vows to you, I will strive to fulfill them. The world-honored ones in the 10 directions have unhindered wisdom. I call upon those revered ones to bear witness to my intention. Even though I must remain in a state of extreme pain, I will diligently practice, enduring all hardships with tireless vigor. The Buddha said to Ananda, having spoken these verses, Bhikshu Dharmakara said to Buddha Lokeshvara Raja, respectfully, world-honored one, I announce that I have awakened aspiration for highest, perfect enlightenment. I beseech you to explain the Dharma to me fully, so that I can perform practices for the establishment of a pure Buddha land adorned with innumerable excellent qualities. So please teach me how to attain enlightenment quickly and to remove the roots of the afflictions of birth and death of all. The Buddha said to Ananda. At that time the Buddha Lokeshvara Raja replied to Bhikshu Dharmakara, you yourself should know by what practice you can establish a glorious Buddha land. The Bhikshu said to the Buddha, that is far too vast and deep for my comprehension. I sincerely beseech you, world-honored one, to explain in detail the practices by which Buddha Tathagatas establish their pure lands. After I hear that, I wish to practice as instructed, and so fulfill my aspirations. At that time, the Buddha Lokeshvara Raja recognized Bhikshu Dharmakara's noble and high aspirations, and taught him as follows. If, for example, one keeps on bailing water out of a great ocean with a pint measure, One will be able to reach the bottom after many kalpas and then obtain rare treasures. Likewise, if one sincerely, diligently, and unceasingly seeks the way, one will be able to reach one's destination. What vow is there that cannot be fulfilled? Then the Buddha Lokeshvara Raja explained in detail the greater and lesser aspects of 210 kotis of Buddha lands, together with the good and evil natures of heavenly and human beings living there. He revealed them all to the bhikshu, just as he had requested. Then the bhikshu, having heard the Buddha's exposition of the glorious Pure Land, and also having seen all of them, resolved upon his supreme unsurpassed vows. His mind being serene and his aspirations free of attachment, he was unexcelled throughout the world. For 5 full kalpas he contemplated the vows and then chose the pure practices for the establishment of his Buddha land. Ananda asked the Buddha, how long was the lifespan of beings in the land of the Buddha Lokeshvara Raja? The Buddha replied, the length of that Buddha was 42 kalpas. So that's billions of years. He continued, after that, Dharmakara Bodhisattva adopted the pure practices that had led to the establishment of the excellent lands of 210 kotis of Buddhas. I mean, just think about that. The entire time that our solar system has even existed, I don't even think it's 1 kalpa. I might be wrong, but I don't think it's even... let's see exactly what a kalpa... A kalpa is equal to 4.32 billion years. Or, let's see, how much? 71 cycles of 306 million years is a kalpa. A kalpa is a day of Brahma. Oh, I see. Okay, so a kalpa is a day of Brahma. So anyway, our entire solar system has barely lasted a kalpa. And here we're saying here that the lifetime of just this Buddha, just this one entity, is equivalent to 42 lifetimes of our entire solar system. So you can get an idea for the power and the wisdom of such Tathagatas. Okay, so continuing. Afterwards, the Dharmakara Bodhisattva adopted the pure practices that had led to the establishment of excellent lands of 210 kotis of Buddhas. When he had finished this task, he went to the Buddha, knelt down at his feet, walked around him 3 times, joined his palms for worship, and sat down. He then said to the Buddha, I have adopted the pure practices for the establishment of a glorious Buddha land. The Buddha said to him, you should proclaim this. Know that now is the right time. Encourage and delight the entire assembly. Hearing this, other bodhisattvas will practice this dharma as so to fulfill their innumerable great vows. The bhikshu replied, I beg you, grant me your attention. Now I will proclaim my vows. 1. If, when I attain Buddhahood, there should be in my land a hell, a realm of hungry ghosts, or a realm of animals, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 2. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should after death fall again into the 3 evil realms, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 3. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not be all the color of pure gold, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not be all of one appearance, and should thereby be should there be any difference in their beauty, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 5. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not remember all of their former lives, not knowing at least the events that occurred during the previous 100,000 kotis of nayutas of kalpas, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not possess the divine eye of seeing at least 100,000 kotis of nayutas of Buddha lands, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not possess the divine ear of hearing the teachings of at least 100,000 kotis of nayutas of Buddhas, and should not remember all of them, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not possess the faculty of knowing the thoughts of others, at least those of all sentient beings living in 100,000 kotis of nayutas of Buddha lands, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not possess the supernatural power of traveling anywhere in one instant, even beyond 100,000 kotis of nayutas of Buddha lands, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should give rise to thoughts of self-attachment, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 11. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not dwell in the definitely assured stage and unfailingly reach nirvana, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 12. If, when I attain Buddhahood, my light should be limited, illuminating even 100,000 kotis of nayutas of Buddha lands, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, my lifespan should be limited, even to the extent of 100,000 kotis of nayutas of kalpas, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 14. If, when I attain Buddhahood, the number of Shravakas in my land could be known, even if all the beings and Pratyeka Buddhas living in the universe of 1,000 million worlds should count them during 100,000 kalpas, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should have limited lifespans, except when they wish to shorten them in accordance with their original vows, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should hear of any wrongdoing, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 17. If, when I attain Buddhahood, innumerable Buddhas of the lands of the 10 directions should not all praise and glorify my name, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, 18. If, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the lands of the 10 directions who sincerely and joyfully entrust themselves to me, desire to be born in my land and think of me even 10 times should not be born there, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Excluded, however, are those who commit the 5 grave offenses and abuse the right dharma. 19. If, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the lands of the 10 directions who awaken the aspiration for enlightenment, do various meritorious deeds, and sincerely desire to be born in my Pure Land, should not, at their death, see me before them surrounded by a multitude of sages, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 20. If, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the lands of the 10 directions who, having heard my name, concentrate their thoughts on my Pure Land, plant roots of virtue, and sincerely transfer their merits towards my land with the desire to be born there, should not eventually fulfill their aspiration, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not all be endowed with the 32 physical characteristics of a great being, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, bodhisattvas in the Buddha lands of the other directions who visit my land should not ultimately and unfailingly reach the stage of becoming a Buddha after one more life, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Accepted are those who wish to teach and guide sentient beings in accordance with their original vows, for they will wear the armor of great vows, accumulate merit, deliver all beings from birth and death, visit Buddha lands to perform the bodhisattva practices, make offerings to the Buddha Tathagatas throughout the 10 directions, enlighten countless sentient beings as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River, and establish them in highest perfect enlightenment. Such bodhisattvas transcend the course of ordinary bodhisattvas, manifest the practices of all the bodhisattva stages, and cultivate the virtues of Samantabhadra. 23. If, when I attain Buddhahood, the bodhisattvas in my land who would make offerings to the Buddhas through my divine power should not be able to reach innumerable and immeasurable kodis of Nayutas of Buddha lands in as short a time as it takes to eat a meal, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, bodhisattvas in my land should not be able to, as they wish, perform meritorious acts of worshipping the Buddhas with offerings of their choice, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, 25. If, when I attain Buddhahood, bodhisattvas in my land should not be able to expound the Dharma with all-knowing wisdom, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 26. If, when I attain Buddhahood, there should be any bodhisattva in my land not endowed with the body of the Vajra god Narayana, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. So here, Narayan is called by name, Krishna is called by name as the diamond god, the Vajra god. 27. If, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings should not be able, or should be able, if when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings should be able to, even with the divine eye, distinguish by name and calculation, by number, all the myriads of manifestations provided for the humans and devas in my land, which will be glorious and resplendent and have exquisite details beyond description, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If 28. If, when I attain Buddhahood, bodhisattvas in my land, even those with little stores of merit, should not be able to see the Bodhi tree, which has immeasurable light in countless colors, and is 4 million li in height, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 29. If, when I attain Buddhahood, bodhisattvas in my land should not acquire eloquence and wisdom and in upholding sutras and reciting and expounding them, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If 31. If, when I attain Buddhahood, my land should not be resplendent, revealing in its light all the innumerable, immeasurable, and inconceivable Buddha lands, like images reflected in a clear mirror, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. "32. If, when I attain Buddhahood, all the myriads of manifestations in my land from the ground to the sky, such as palaces, pavilions, ponds, streams, and trees, should not be composed both of countless treasures that surpass in supreme excellence anything in the world of devas and humans, of the 100,000 kinds, and of 100,000 kinds of aromatic wood, whose fragrance pervades all the worlds of the 10 directions, causing bodhisattvas who sense it to perform Buddhist practices, then may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when 33. If, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the innumerable and inconceivable Buddha lands of the 10 directions, who have been touched by my light, should not feel peace and happiness in their bodies and minds, surpassing those of humans and devas, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 34. If, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the immeasurable and innumerable Buddha lands, immeasurable and inconceivable Buddha lands in the 10 directions, who having heard my name should not gain the Bodhisattva's insight into the non-arising, of all dharmas, and should not acquire various profound taranis, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 37. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in the immeasurable and inconceivable Buddha lands of the 10 directions who, having heard my name, prostrate themselves on the ground to revere and worship me, rejoice in faith and perform the Bodhisattva practices, should not be respected by all devas and people of the world, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Wow, that's a very profound one. Not that they're all not profound. 38. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not obtain clothing as soon as they desire arises in their minds, and if fine robes, as prescribed and praised by the Buddhas, should not spontaneously be provided for them to wear, and if these clothes should need sewing, bleaching, dyeing, or washing, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not enjoy happiness and pleasures comparable to a monk who has exhausted all the passions, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 40. If, when I attain Buddhahood, the Bodhisattvas in my land who wish to see the immeasurable glorious Buddha lands of the 10 directions should not be able to view all of them reflected in the jeweled trees, just as one sees one's face reflected in a clear mirror, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, Bodhisattvas in the lands of the other directions who hear my name should at any time before becoming Buddhas, have impaired, inferior, or incomplete sense organs, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 42. If, when I attain Buddhahood, Bodhisattvas in the lands of the other directions who hear my name should not all attain the samadhi called pure liberation, and while dwelling therein should not, without losing concentration, be able to make offerings in one instant to immeasurable and inconceivable Buddhas, world-honored ones, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 43. If, when I attain Buddhahood, Bodhisattvas in the lands of the other directions who hear my name should not be reborn into noble families after death, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 44. If, when I attain Buddhahood, Bodhisattvas in the lands of the other directions who hear my name should not rejoice so greatly as to dance and perform the Bodhisattva practices, and should not acquire great stores of merit, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, Bodhisattvas in the lands of the other directions who hear my name should not all attain the samadhi called universal equality, and when dwelling therein should not always be able to see the immeasurable and inconceivable Tathagatas until these Bodhisattvas too become Buddhas, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain 46, if, when I attain Buddhahood, Bodhisattvas in my land should not be able to hear spontaneously whatever teachings they may wish, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. 47. If, when I attain Buddhahood, Bodhisattvas in the lands of the other directions who hear my name should not instantly reach the stage of non-retrogression, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If, when I attain Buddhahood, Bodhisattvas in the lands of the other directions who hear my name should not instantly gain the first, second, and third insights into the nature of dharmas, and firmly abide in the truths realized by all the Buddhas, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Namo Amitabhaya. So you see, this is why that Pure Land Buddhism is so profound and powerful. Simply by chanting the Nembutsu, you're acquiring all this merit. As is with any pure bhakti tradition. So continuing is a beautiful, another couple verses. The Buddha said to Ananda, Bhikshu Dharmakara, having thus proclaimed those vows, spoke the following verses. I have made vows unrivaled in all the world. I shall certainly reach the unsurpassed way. If these vows are not fulfilled, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. If I should not become a great benefactor in lives to come for immeasurable kalpas to save poor and afflicted everywhere, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. When I attain Buddhahood, my name will be heard throughout the 10 directions. Should there be any place where it is not heard, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Free of greed and with profound mindfulness and pure wisdom, I will perform these sacred practices. I will attain the unsurpassed way and become the teacher of devas and humans. With my divine power, I will display great light, illuminating the worlds without limit and dispel the darkness of the 3 defilements. Thus I will deliver all beings from misery. Having obtained the eye of wisdom, I shall remove the darkness of ignorance. I will block all evil paths and open the gate to the good realms. When merits and virtues are perfected, my majestic light will radiate in the 10 directions, outshining the sun and moon, and surpassing the brilliance of the heavens. I will open the Dharma storehouse for the multitudes and endow them all with treasures of merit. Being always amongst the multitudes, I will proclaim the Dharma with the lion's roar. I will make offerings to all the Buddhas, thereby acquiring roots of virtue. When my vows are fulfilled and wisdom is perfected, I shall be the sovereign of the 3 worlds. Like your unhindered wisdom, O Buddha, mine shall reach everywhere, illuminating all. May my supreme wisdom be like yours, most honored one. If these vows are to be fulfilled, let this universe of 1,000 million worlds quake in response, and let all the devas in heaven rain down rare and marvelous flowers. The Buddha said to Ananda, as soon as the Bhikshu Dharmakara spoke those verses, the entire earth quaked in 6 ways, and a rain of wonderful flowers fell from heaven. Scattering everywhere, spontaneous music was heard, and a voice in the sky said, surely you will attain highest, perfect enlightenment. Then Bhikshu Dharmakara kept all those great vows, which were true, unfailing, and unsurpassed in the whole world, and intensely aspired to attain nirvana. Then Ananda, after proclaiming and establishing those universal vows in the presence of the Buddha Lokeshvara Raja before the multitude of beings, including the 8 kinds of superhuman beings such as devas and dragon spirits, and also Mara and Brahma, Bhikshu Dharmakara was solely intent on producing a glorious and exquisite land. The Buddha land that he sought to establish was vast in extent, unsurpassed and supremely wonderful, always present and subject neither to decay nor change. During inconceivable and innumerable kalpas, he cultivated the immeasurable meritorious practices of the Bodhisattva path. He did not harbor any thought of greed, hatred, or cruelty, did not allow any ideas of greed, hatred, or cruelty to arise. He was unattached to any form, sound, smell, touch, taste, or idea. Possessed of the power to persevere, he did not avoid undergoing various afflictions. Having little desire for his own sake, he knew contentment. Without an impure thought, enmity, or stupidity, he dwelled continually in tranquil samadhi. His wisdom was unobstructable and his mind free of falsehoods and deceitfulness. With expressions of tenderness on his face and with kindness in his speech, he spoke to others in consonance with their inner thoughts. Courageous and diligent, strong-willed and untiring, he devoted himself solely to the pursuit of pure dharma, thereby benefiting a multitude of beings. He revered the three treasures, respected his elders and teachers, and thus adorned his practices with a great store of merit. By so doing, he enabled sentient beings to partake of them. He dwelled in the realization that all dharmas are empty, devoid of distinctive features, and not to be sought after, and that they neither arise nor act, and thus he realized that all dharmas are like magical creations. He avoided all wrong speech that would bring harm upon himself or others or both. He engaged in right speech that would bring benefit to himself or others or both. He abandoned his kingdom and renounced the throne, leaving behind wealth and sensuous pleasures. Practicing the 6 paramitas himself, he taught others to do the same. During innumerable kalpas, he accumulated merit and amassed virtues. Wherever he was born, an innumerable store of treasure spontaneously appeared as he wished. He taught countless sentient beings and guided them on the path of highest true enlightenment. He was reborn as a rich man, a lay devotee, member of highest caste or noble family, Brahman, a Kshatriya king, a wheel-turning monarch, Chakravartin, king of one of the 6 heavens and the worlds of desire, or even higher as a Brahma king. He revered and worshipped all Buddhas by making the 4 kinds of offerings to them. The merit he thus acquired was indescribably great. Fragrance issued from his mouth as from a blue lotus flower, and every pore of his body emitted the scent of sandalwood, which permeated innumerable worlds. His appearance was majestic, and his physical characteristics and marks were truly wonderful. From his hands inexhaustible treasures, clothes, food and drink, rare and exquisite flowers, incense, silken canopies, banners, and other ornaments were produced. In such manifestations he was unrivaled among all heavenly and human beings. He thus attained the command of all dharmas. Ananda asked of the Buddha, "Has the Bodhisattva Dharmakara already attained Buddhahood and thus passed into Nirvana, or has he not yet attained Buddhahood? Or is he dwelling somewhere at present?" The Buddha replied to Ananda, "Bodhisattva Dharmakara has already attained Buddhahood and is now dwelling in a western Buddha land called Peace and Bliss, that is Sukhavati, 100,000 kodis of lands away from here." Ananda further asked of the Buddha, "How long has it been since he attained Buddhahood?" The Buddha said, "About 10 kalpas have passed." He continued, "In that Buddha land the earth is composed of 7 kinds of jewels, namely gold, silver, beryl, coral, agate, ruby, and amber, that have spontaneously appeared." This is interesting because if you read in the book of Revelation, it says that the foundations of heaven are built on 12 types of gemstones, I believe they say in the book of Revelation, but here the Buddha land is built from 7 kinds of jewels that have spontaneously appeared. The land itself is so vast, spreading boundlessly to the farthest extent, that it is impossible to know its limit. All the rays of light from those jewels intermingle and create manifold reflections, producing a dazzling illumination. Those pure, superb, and exquisite adornments are unsurpassed in all the worlds of the 10 directions. They are the finest of all gems and are like those in the 6th heaven. In that land there are no mountains such as Mount Sumeru and the encircling adamantine mountains. Supposedly these are the adamantine or iron mountains which encircle the earth and block it off from Mount Sumeru. There are neither oceans, nor seas, nor valleys, nor gorges, but one can see those manifestations by the Buddha's power if one wishes. In that land there is no hell, neither are there realms of hungry ghosts, or animals, nor other adverse conditions, neither do the 4 seasons of spring, summer, autumn, and winter to exist. It is always moderate and pleasant, never hot or cold. Well, sounds like California. Then Ananda asked the Buddha, "If, world-honored one, there is no Mount Sumeru in that land, what sustains the heaven of the 4 kings and the heaven of the 33 gods?" The Buddha said to Ananda, "What sustains Yama, which is the 3rd heaven of the world of desire and other heavens up to the highest heaven of the world of form?" Ananda answered, "The consequences of karma are inconceivable." The Buddha said to Ananda, "Inconceivable indeed are the consequences of karma, and so are the worlds of the Buddhas. By the power of meritorious deeds, sentient beings in that land dwell on the ground of karmic reward. That is why those heavens exist without Mount Sumeru." I do not doubt this myself, but have asked about it simply. Ananda continued, "I do not doubt this myself, but have asked it simply because I wish to remove such doubts for the benefit of sentient beings in the future." The Buddha said to Ananda, the majestic light of the Buddha Amitayus is the most exalted. No other Buddha's light can match his. The light of some Buddhas illuminates 100 Buddha lands, and others 1,000 Buddha lands. Briefly, that of Amitayus illuminates the eastern Buddha lands, as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River. In this way, it illuminates the Buddha lands in the south, west, north, in each of the 4 intermediate directions, and above and below. So in other words, it's saying that the light of Buddha Amitayus illuminates every single Buddha land in the 10 directions. Further, the light of some Buddhas extends 7 feet, others 1 yojan, or 2, 3, or 4 or 5 yojanas. And the distance covered increases in this way until the light of some Buddhas illuminates 1 Buddha land. For this reason, Amitayus is called by the following names: the Buddha of infinite light, the Buddha of boundless light, the Buddha of unhindered light, the Buddha of incomparable light, the Buddha of the light of the King of Flame, the Buddha of pure light, the Buddha of light of joy, the Buddha of the light of wisdom, the Buddha of unceasing light, the Buddha of inconceivable light, the Buddha of ineffable light, and the Buddha of the light outshining sun and moon. If sentient beings encounter his light, their 3 defilements are removed. They feel tenderness, joy, and pleasure, and good thoughts arise. If sentient beings in the 3 realms of suffering see his light, they will all be relieved and freed from affliction. At the end of their lives, they will all reach liberation. So this is like a very technical kind of bhakti. It's saying that, just like the poem of Saichi, which says, "In other power, there is no self-power, there is no other power, all is other power." Likewise, the power for liberation, the power for yoga, is emanating from Buddha Amitayus, and we can receive that, but that power is not emanating from us. The light of Amitayus shines brilliantly, illuminating all the Buddha lands of 10 directions. There is no place where it is not perceived, and I am not the only one who now praises his light. All the Buddhas, Shravakas, Pratika Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas praise and glorify it in the same way. If sentient beings, having heard of the majestic virtue of his light, glorify it continually day and night, with sincerity of heart, they will be able to attain rebirth in his land as they wish. Or attain birth in his land as they wish, not rebirth. Then the multitudes of Bodhisattvas and Shravakas will praise their excellent virtue. Later, when they attain Buddhahood, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions will praise their light, just as I now praise the light of Amitayus. The Buddha continued, "The majestic glory of the light of Amitayus could not be exhaustively described even if I praised it continually day and night for a period of 1 kalpa. The Buddha said to Ananda, "The lifespan of Amitayus is so long that it is impossible for anyone to calculate it. To give an illustration, let us suppose that all the innumerable sentient beings in the worlds of the 10 directions were reborn in the human form, and that every one of them became a Shravaka or Pratyeka Buddha. Even if they all assembled in one place, concentrated their thoughts, and exercised the power of their wisdom to the utmost, to reckon the length of the Buddha's lifespan by the number of kalpas, even after 1,000 million kalpas, they could still not reach its limit. So it is with the lifespan of Shravakas, Bodhisattvas, heavenly beings, and human beings in his land. Similarly, it is not to be encompassed by any means of reckoning by any metaphorical expression. Again, the number of Shravakas and Bodhisattvas living there is incalculable. They are fully endowed with transcendent wisdom and free in their exercise of majestic power. They could hold the entire world in their hands." The Buddha said to Ananda, "The number of Shravakas at the first teaching assembly of the Buddha was incalculable, and so were the number of Bodhisattvas. Even if an immeasurable and countless number of humans multiplied by millions of kotis should all become like Mahamodgalyana, and together reckon their number, during innumerable nayutas of kalpas, or even if they attain nirvana, they should not be able to know the number. Let us suppose that there is a great ocean, infinitely deep and wide, and that one takes a drop of water out of it with 1/100th part of a split hair. How do you compare that drop of water with the rest of the ocean?" Ananda replied, "When the drop of water is compared with the great ocean, it is impossible even for one skilled in astronomy or mathematics to know the proportion. For anyone to describe it by any rhetorical, or metaphorical expression." So he's saying, this is an Upanishadic reference here. In the Upanishads, it says that the size of the human soul is the breadth of 1/10,000th of a strand of hair. 1/10,000th of a strand of hair is the size of a human soul. 1/10,000th. Right? So the Buddha is saying here, if you took a strand of hair, cut it in half by 100, and pulled out a drop of water, then you have something akin to your own life in relation to Amitayus Buddha, who is an infinite ocean of life and soul. His soul is like that in relation to us. The Buddha said to Ananda, "Even if people like Mahamodgalyana were to count for millions of kotis the number of Shravakas and Bodhisattvas at the first teaching assembly, who could be counted would be like a drop of water, and the number of sages yet to be counted would be like the rest of the ocean." Again, 7 jeweled trees completely fill that land. There are some trees made of gold, some silver, others made of beryl, crystal, coral, ruby, or agate. There are also trees made of 2 to 7 kinds of jewels. There are gold trees with leaves, flowers, and fruits of silver, silver trees with leaves, flowers, and fruits of gold, beryl trees with leaves, flowers, fruits of crystal, crystal trees with leaves, flowers, fruits of beryl, coral trees with leaves, flowers, fruits of ruby, ruby trees with leaves, flowers, fruits of beryl, agate trees with leaves, flowers, and fruits made of various jewels. Again, there are jeweled trees with purple gold roots, white silver trunks, beryl branches, crystal twigs, coral leaves, ruby flowers, and agate fruits. There are jeweled trees with white silver roots, beryl trunks, crystal branches, coral twigs, ruby leaves, agate flowers, and purple gold fruits. There are jeweled trees with beryl roots, crystal trunks, coral branches, ruby twigs, agate leaves, purple gold flowers, and white silver fruits. There are jeweled trees with crystal roots, coral trunks, ruby branches, agate twigs, purple gold leaves, white silver flowers, and beryl fruits. There are jeweled trees with coral roots, ruby trunks, agate branches, purple gold twigs, white silver leaves, beryl flowers, and crystal fruits. There are jeweled trees with ruby roots, agate trunks, purple gold branches, white silver twigs, beryl leaves, crystal flowers, and coral fruits. There are jeweled trees with agate roots, purple gold trunks, white silver branches, beryl twigs, crystal leaves, coral flowers, and ruby fruits. These jeweled trees are placed in parallel rows. Their trunks are evenly spaced. Their branches are in level layers. Their leaves are symmetrical. Their flowers harmonize, and their fruits are well arranged. The brilliant colors of all of these trees are so luxuriant that it is impossible to see them all. When a fresh breeze wafts through them, exquisite sounds of the pentatonic scales, such as kung and shang, spontaneously arise and make symphonic music. Again, the Bodhi tree of the Buddha Amitayus is 4 million li in height and 5,000 yojanas in circumference at its base. Its branches spread 200,000 li in each of the 4 directions. It is a natural cluster of all kinds of precious stones and is adorned with the king of jewels, namely moon-bright mani gems and ocean-supporting wheel gems. Everywhere between its twigs hang jeweled ornaments with 1,000 million different colors, intermingling in various ways, and their innumerable beams shine with utmost brilliance. The Bodhi tree itself is covered with nets of rare, excellent gems, and on it appears all kinds of ornaments in accordance with one's wishes. When a gentle breeze wafts through its branches and leaves, innumerable exquisite dharma sounds arise, which spread far and wide, pervading the other Buddha lands in the 10 directions, pervading all of the other Buddha lands in the 10 directions. Those who hear the sounds attain penetrating insight into dharmas and dwell in the stage of non-retrogression. Until they attain Buddhahood, their senses of hearing will remain clear and sharp, and they will not suffer from any pain or sickness. When they hear the sounds of the Bodhi tree, see its colors, smell its perfume, taste its flavors, perceive its lights, or conceive of the Dharma in their minds, they all attain profoundly penetrating insight into dharmas and dwell in the stage of non-retrogression. Until they attain Buddhahood, their 6 sense organs will remain sharp and clear, and they will not suffer any pain or sickness. Ananda, when humans and devas of that land see the Bodhi tree, they will attain 3 insights. First, insight into the reality through hearing the sacred sounds. Second, insight into reality by being in accord with it. Third, insight into the non-arising of all dharmas. These benefits are all bestowed by the majestic power of Amitayus, the power of his original vow, his perfectly fulfilled vow, his clear and manifest vow, his firm vow, and his accomplished vow. The Buddha said to Ananda, "A king of this world possesses 100,000 kinds of music. From the realm ruled by a wheel-turning monarch, up to the sixth heaven, the sounds of the music produced in each higher realm are 10 million kotis of times superior to those of a lower one. So let me read that again. A king of this world possesses 100,000 kinds of music. From the realm ruled by a wheel-turning monarch, a Chakravartin, up to the sixth heaven of the world of desire, the sounds of the music produced in each higher realm are 10 million kotis of times superior to those of a lower one. The thousands of varieties of musical sound produced in the sixth heaven are 1,000 kotis of times inferior to one sound produced by the 7 jeweled trees in the land of Amitayus. Again, in that land there are thousands of varieties of spontaneous music, which are all, without exception, sounds of the Dharma. They are clear and serene, full of depth and resonance, delicate and harmonious. They are the most excellent sounds in the worlds of the 10 directions. Again, the halls, monasteries, palaces, and pavilions are spontaneous apparitions, all adorned with the 7 kinds of jewels and hung with curtains of various other jewels, such as pearls and moon-bright mani gems. Inside and out, to right and left, are bathing ponds. Some of them are 10 yojans in length, breadth, depth. Some are 20 yojans, other 30, and so on, until we come at last to those measuring 100,000 yojans in length, breadth, and depth. They are full to the brim with water that possesses the 8 excellent qualities, clear, fragrant, and tasting like nectar. There are golden ponds with beds of silver sand, silver ponds with beds of golden sand, crystal ponds with beds of beryl sand, beryl ponds with beds of crystal sand, coral ponds with beds of amber sand, amber ponds with beds of coral sand, agate ponds with beds of ruby sand, ruby ponds with beds of agate sand, white jade ponds with beds of purple sand, and purple gold ponds with beds of white jade sand. Others are composed of 2 to 7 jewels. On the banks of these ponds are sandalwood trees, whose flowers and leaves hang down and diffuse perfumes everywhere. Heavenly lotuses, blue, pink, yellow, white, bloom profusely in various tints and tones, completely covering the surface of the water. If bodhisattvas and shravakas in that land entered the jeweled ponds and wish the water to rise to their ankles, it rises to their ankles. If they wish it to rise to their knees, it rises to their knees. If they wish it to rise to their waist, it rises to their waists. If they wish it to rise to their necks, it rises to their necks. If they wish it to pour out over their, if they wish it to pour over their bodies, it spontaneously pours over their bodies. If they wish it to recede, it recedes. Its temperature is moderate, cool, or warm according to their wishes. The water comforts the body and refreshes the mind, washing away their mental defilements. Clear and pure, the water is so transparent that it seems formless. The jewel sand shines so brightly that even the depths of water cannot prevent its brilliance from being seen. The rippling water forms meandering streams which join and flow into each other. Their movement is peaceful and quiet, neither too fast nor too slow, and their ripples spontaneously produce innumerable wonderful sounds. One can hear whatever sound one wishes. For example, some hear the sound Buddha. Some hear the sound Dharma. Some Sangha. Others hear tranquility, emptiness and no self, great compassion, paramita, 10 powers, fearlessness, special qualities, supernatural powers, non-activity, neither arising nor perishing, insight into the non-arising of all dharmas, and so on until the various sounds of the wonderful dharma, such as the sprinkling of nectar upon the head of a bodhisattva, are reached. As one hears these sounds, one attains immeasurable joy and accords with the principles of purity, absence of desires, extinction, and reality. One is in harmony with the three treasures, the Buddha's powers, fearlessness, and special qualities, and also with the supernatural powers and other methods of practice for bodhisattvas and shravakas. Not even the name of the three realms of suffering are heard, but only nirvanic sounds of bliss. For this reason, the land is called Peace and Bliss. So, almost at the end, let me read a little bit more. Ananda, those born in that Buddha land are endowed with such bodies of purity and provided with various exquisite sounds, supernatural powers, and virtues. The palaces in which they dwell, their clothing, food, and drink, the wonderful flowers, and the various kinds of incense and adornments are like those naturally provided in the sixth heaven of world and desire. Or the sixth heaven of the world of desire. At mealtimes, plates made of the 7 kinds of jewels, gold, silver, beryl, agate, ruby, coral, and amber, and also of moon-bright pearl, spontaneously appear, filled with food and drinks of 100 tastes according to one's wishes. Although the food is offered, no one actually eats it. Once it has been seen and smelled, one naturally feels it has been eaten and so is satisfied. Thus one feels relaxed in mind and body, free from attachment to the sense of taste. When the meal is over, everything disappears, but it reappears at the next mealtime. That Buddha land, like the realm of unconditioned nirvana, is pure and serene, resplendent and blissful. The Shravakas, Bodhisattvas, heavenly beings, and humans there have lofty and brilliant wisdom and are masters of the supernatural powers. They are all of one form without any differences, but are called heavenly beings and humans simply by analogy with states of existence in other worlds. And their appearance is superb, unmatched by any being heavenly or human. They are all endowed with bodies of naturalness, emptiness, and infinity. I think that's good. Namo Amitabhaya Buddhaya. Namo Amitabhaya Buddhaya. Let us repeat that constant mantra. Namo Amitabhaya, or Namo Amida Busu, in order that in this life you can enter Sukhavati. No need to wait after you die, but in this life your soul can ascend to Sukhavati. You will see it, you will hear, and you will be there in this life if you resolve resolutely to do so. And then where did all the ego and low self and all this, it disappears. It disappears as these wondrous vibrations flow through you, like the beautiful imagery of the sandalwood breezes and the breezes which pass through the Dharma sound emitting crystal trees. These things will pass through your entire soul, and your soul will become like a crystal tree itself, in the way that the winds of your body pass through the 7 chakras. I remember in another part of this book they even talk about how that there is 8 colors of lotus flowers which emit this inconceivable light. It reminded me just of the chakra system. Just amazing, amazing, amazing symbolism. Can I see it here? It's really beautiful. If you're interested in what I'm writing, or what I'm reading, sorry, You can check out this book. It's available on the internet. It's called the Three Pure Land Sutras. You can find the PDF version of the exact book that I'm reading actually on the internet. I'll post a link to it on my Shaktipad Seer fan page on Facebook. Oh, here it is. Moreover, lotus flowers of various jewels fill the land. Each has 100,000 kodis of petals with lights of numerous colors. Green lotuses glow with green light, white ones with the white light. Likewise, dark blue, yellow, red, and purple lotuses glow with their respective colors. The brilliance of these lights is so magnificent that it outshines the sun and moon. Each flower emits 3,600,000 kodis rays of light. Each ray of light sending forth 3,600,000 kodis of Buddhas. The bodies of these Buddhas are purple gold, and their physical characteristics and marks are superb beyond compare. Each Buddha emits 100,000 rays of light and expounds the wonderful Dharma to beings in 10 directions, thus setting innumerable beings on the right path of the Buddha. How incredible is that? It gives a life to the unseen, unspeakable reality of what you experience in so-called quote-unquote tantric practices or spiritual experiences which transcend the body of somebody who's started to through the Kundalini start to see the other side of things. All I can say is my personal experience, and I started to see all these glowing lights and feelings. You start to feel these strange kind of breezes almost. And so the idea of glowing lotus flowers emitting rays of light containing countless Buddhas and Dharma sounds being emitted by wind blowing through trees, it's exactly the tantric experience. King of the colors of flowers, moonlight on the water, dispelling the darkness of ignorance. By the way, these are all names of Tathagatas who came after the first Tathagata that the Buddha mentions called Dipanakara. So Tathagata, and these are all, Sanskrit names which have these meanings in them. Practice of removing hindrances, moonlight on the water, dispelling the darkness of ignorance, pure faith, storehouse of good majestic glory, wisdom of the Dharma, voice of the phoenix, roar of the lion, cry of the dragon, and dwelling in the world. All these Buddhas have already passed into nirvana. Then there appeared a Buddha named Lokeshvara Raja. By the way, Lokeshvara Raja means world sovereign king. It means king of the Lord of the worlds, or Lokeshvara Raja. Yeah, it means king, world sovereign, or king, lord of the worlds. The Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened one, possessed of wisdom and practice, well gone one, knower of the world, unsurpassed one, tamer of beings, teacher of gods and humans, and enlightened and world-honored one. At that time there was a king, who, having heard the Buddha's exposition of the Dharma, rejoiced in his heart and awakened aspiration for highest, perfect enlightenment. He renounced his kingdom and throne, and he became a monk named Dharmakara. Having superior intelligence, courage, and wisdom, he distinguished himself in the world. He went to see the Tathagata Lokeshvara Raja, knelt down at his feet, walked around him 3 times, keeping him always at his right, prostrated himself on the ground, and, putting his palms together in worship, praised the Buddha with these verses. The shine
Shakti Seer 2.
We will now begin to recite the larger Pure Land Sutra. The Buddha said to Ananda, in the distant past, innumerable, incalculable, and inconceivable kalpas ago. Inconceivable kalpas ago, this means a long, long time ago. A Tathagata means a thus come one, something like an avatar. A Tathagata named Dipankara appeared in the world. Having taught and freed innumerable beings and led them along the way of enlightenment, he passed into nirvana. Next appeared a Tathagata named Far-Reaching Illumination. After him came Moonlight, and then Sandalwood Incense, King of Beautiful Mountains, Crown of Mount Sumeru, Brilliant like Mount Sumeru, Color of the Moon, Right Recollection, Free of Defilement, Non-Attachment, Dragon Deva, Nocturnal Light, Peaceful and Brilliant Peak, Immovable Ground, Exquisite Beryl Flower, Golden Beryl Luster, Gold Treasury, Flaming Light, Fiery Origin, Earth-Shaking, Image of the Moon, Sound of the Sun, Flower of Freedom, Glorious Light, Miraculous Power of the Ocean of Enlightenment, Water Light, Great Fragrance, Free of Dust and Defilement, Abandoning Enmity, Flame of Jewels, Beautiful Peak, Heroic Stance, Merit-Possessing Wisdom, Outshining the Sun and Moon, Beryl Light of the Sun and Moon, Supreme Beryl Light, Highest Peak, Flower of Enlightenment, Brightness of the Moon, Sunlighting Face of the Buddha is glorious. Boundless is his magnificence. Radiant splendor such as his is beyond all comparison. The sun, the moon, and the Mani gem, though shining with dazzling brightness, are completely dimmed and obscured as if they were a pile of ink sticks. The countenance of the Tathagata is beyond compare in the whole world. The great voice of the Enlightened One resounds throughout the 10 directions. His morality, learning, endeavor, absorption in meditation, wisdom, and magnificent virtues have no equal. They are wonderful and unsurpassed. Shh, be quiet. Sorry about that. His morality, learning, endeavor, absorption in wisdom, in meditation, absorption in meditation, his wisdom, magnificent virtues have no equal, they are wonderful and unsurpassed. He meditates deeply and directly on the oceanic dharma of all the Buddhas. He knows its depth and breadth, and he penetrates to its farthest end. Ignorance, greed, and anger are forever absent in the world-honored one. He is the lion, the most valiant of all men. His glorious virtue is unlimited. His meritorious achievements are vast. His wisdom is deep and sublime. His light, with awe-inspiring glory, shakes the universe of 1,000 million worlds. I resolve to become a Buddha, equal in attainment to you, O holy king of the Dharma. Have unhindered wisdom. I call upon those revered ones to bear witness to my intention. Even though I must remain in a state of extreme pain, I will diligently practice, enduring all hardships with tireless vigor. The Buddha said to Ananda, having spoken these verses, Bhikshu Dharmakara said to Buddha Lokeshwara Raja, respectfully, world honor one, I announce that I have awakened aspiration for highest, perfect enlightenment. I beseech you to explain the Dharma to me fully, so that I can perform practices for the establishment of a pure Buddha land adorned with innumerable excellent qualities. So please teach me how to attain enlightenment quickly and to remove the roots of the afflictions of birth and death of all. The Buddha said to Ananda, At that time, the Buddha Lokeshvara replied to Bhikshu Dharmakara, "You yourself should know by what practice you can establish a glorious Buddha land." The Bhikshu said to the Buddha, "That is far too vast and deep for my comprehension. I sincerely beseech you, world-honored one, to explain in detail the practices by which Buddha Tathagatas establish their pure lands. After I hear that, I wish to practice as instructed, and so fulfill my aspirations." At that time, the Buddha Lokeshvara recognized Bhikshu Dharmakara's noble and high aspirations and taught him as follows. If, for example, one keeps on bailing water out of a great ocean with a pint measure, one will be able to reach the bottom after many kalpas and then obtain rare treasures. To save the living beings from birth and death, and to lead them all to liberation, my discipline in giving, mind control, moral virtues, patience, and effort, and also in meditation and wisdom will be supreme and unsurpassed. I vow that when I have become a Buddha, I shall carry out this promise everywhere, and to all fear-ridden beings shall I give great peace. Even though there are Buddhas 1,000 million kotis in number, and multitude of great sages countless as the sands of the Ganges River, a multitude of great sages countless as the sands of the Ganges River, I shall make offerings to all those Buddhas. I shall seek the supreme way, resolutely and tirelessly, even though the Buddha lands are incalculable as the sands in the Ganges River, and other regions and worlds are also without number. My light shall reach everywhere, pervading all those lands. Such being the result of my efforts, my glorious power will be immeasurable. When I have become a Buddha, my land shall be most exquisite, and its people wonderful and unexcelled. The seat of enlightenment will be supreme. My land, being like nirvana itself, will be beyond comparison. I take pity on living beings and resolve to save them all. Those who come from the 10 directions will find joy and serenity of heart when they reach my land. They shall dwell in peace and happiness. I beg you, the Buddha, to become my witness and to vouch for the truth of my aspiration. Having now made my vows to you, I will strive to fulfill them. The world-honored ones in the 10 directions